You're listening to the RetireCoast podcast, where money, business, and lifestyle come together. Join us each week as we explore smarter financial planning, starting and growing businesses, and building the life you want at every stage, from millennials and Gen X to today's retirees. And now, here's your host, serial entrepreneur, author, and financial guide, Bill Anderson.
Welcome back to RetireCoast. We're going to have a very interesting conversation today that I believe you'll probably get something out of. Hopefully you will. It will be something that has been talked about considerably in the news, in articles, and we're going to tackle it right on. But we're going to direct this discussion of artificial intelligence to a very specific area, and that is small business. And when I mean small business, I'm not talking about a business with $50 million a year. I'm talking about the smallest business where the plumber or the carpenter has maybe a helper and they've got a small business that they run, and they're spending tremendous amounts of time taking care of what I call the back end or the administrative side. I have been there. When I first started my several businesses years ago, I was what they called in the old days the chief cook and bottle washer. And today, there's no need for that. Now, what happens is that this material just, the accounting work, for example, the invoices get pushed aside. They're too busy running out doing the work, and they don't get their business taken care of. And when it comes to tax time, it's even worse. They don't have any documents, any receipts. They've got them all piled up someplace. They have to dig them all out. So there's a tremendous amount of stress to running a small business, and there shouldn't be. That small business should be very well organized, including having a presence on the web. Now, I didn't call it a website per se, not as we were thinking about them in the past, or they still exist. I'm talking about a control center, basically, that is based out there in the ether, that their customers can come in and see what they do, but they can also use it as a way to communicate with their customers, to do their accounting work and everything else. But up to this point, it's been too expensive to hire professionals to come in and set up all this business activity and to do this accounting work and everything. And that's a drag on the business. Also, because the owner had to be deeply involved, that's been difficult as well. So there are opportunities with AI to eliminate almost all of that, what's called today is friction in your business, reduce the stress, and have a much more streamlined business. And this isn't any longer just for the biggest corporations. It has come down even to the smallest businesses. I'm telling you this because I have done it for my small businesses even currently. And it's absolutely amazing what it can do to take care of your business. If you come to RetireCoast.com, you'll find that we have an entire section on tools that we've built using AI for you to use. Many of them are free. We also have a business membership where we have much more extensive writings and tools as well. But I'm here to talk to you about this in more detail because I want to help you. I've helped a lot of small businesses capture more income and spend less money and less time trying to manage the back end of their business and spend more time on the front end, which is getting more customers. So please listen to this dialogue that we're going to present here. I think it's absolutely fascinating. You probably will find an entirely different point of view regarding AI and a much better understanding about how it can absolutely affect you. And I am also pleased to know that in doing my research, the most benefits of AI are actually going to fall to those people that are doing work with their hands, because you have picked a career that is not going to go away because of AI. We need plumbers and electricians, and we need people that can do landscaping and much of this kind of work, but you need some help. So take advantage of what's out there, and we're going to be talking about that just about now.
Right now, literally as we speak, there is a local plumber in, let's say, a mid-sized town who is taking home more money, working way fewer hours, and operating with significantly less stress than like Harvard-educated tech executives.
Which sounds completely wild to say out loud.
It really does. But the crazy part is The plumber is achieving this by using the exact same artificial intelligence technology that the tech executive is using.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a massive exaggeration, right? But when you actually look at the raw data of what is happening on the ground level of local commerce, it is a mathematical reality.
Right. Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. Today we are taking you on a custom-tailored deep dive into how artificial intelligence is quietly, basically revolutionizing small businesses, entrepreneurship, and, believe it or not, even retirement planning.
Yeah, it touches everything.
It really does. So we have a very specific mission for you on this deep dive. We are going to completely ignore the massive corporate hype.
Oh, please, yes.
Right. We're setting aside all those, science fiction debates about sentient robots taking over the world. Today is entirely about the practical, gritty, everyday reality of AI on Main Street. We're looking at a massive stack of research, case studies, field reports, and they all point to this massive shift in how local business operates.
And, the core theme that emerges from this material, like the absolute thesis of what is happening right now, it's incredibly counterintuitive to the mainstream news cycle.
Oh, totally. Because the media always portrays AI as this looming threat, right? Like it's going to arrive and just steal everyone's job.
Exactly. But on Main Street, AI is not about replacing the human doing the actual work. It is entirely about eliminating administrative friction.
Administrative friction. I love that term. That phrase is doing like a lot of heavy lifting in the documents we're looking at today.
It really is, because it is the invisible killer of small businesses. I mean, it's the paperwork, the scheduling, the data entry, the endless back and forth email.
There's Reddit emails.
Right. It's all the work that has to happen so that the actual work can happen.
Yeah, and to really understand the moment we are in right now with AI, the material we're reviewing draws this fascinating historical parallel. There is a foundational story here from a serial entrepreneur and author named Bill Anderson.
Yes, the Anderson story. This is so good.
It's amazing. So the research highlights his experience working at a Fortune 500 company back in the very early days of the internet. We are talking about the era when, email was still considered a cute novelty.
Yeah, the early 1990s. And this is a crucial context for you listening, because human psychology regarding new technology, it rarely changes.
Never.
Right. So back then, a massive portion of the business world looked at the internet and completely dismissed it. They thought it was a toy for academics or just, a passing fad. They could not fathom how a digital network would change how a paper company or a manufacturing plant or a regional sales team operated.
The resistance was palpable. I mean, Anderson talks about how his company had sales and marketing teams scattered all over the United States. And communication back then meant picking up a phone and just hoping someone was sitting at their desk.
Or sending physical memos through the mail.
Yes. Or wrestling with a fax machine that was out of toner. The friction of just getting two people on the same page was enormous. But his company decided to start implementing these early, primitive, internet-based tools to connect their employees and share information.
And the shift was instantaneous. I mean, processes that historically took 3 business days were suddenly being completed in 12 minutes.
12 minutes. That is just insane.
It really is. They became one of the absolute earliest large organizations to fully embrace networked communication. The efficiency gains were so staggering that Anderson was actually invited to CompuServe's corporate headquarters.
Oh, wow. CompuServe. That's a throwback.
Right. He was invited to speak directly to other Fortune 500 CEOs, essentially trying to explain to them that, hey, adopting the internet is no longer a cute option. It is an existential requirement.
But the catalyst for Anderson actually grasping the power of this technology, that is the best part of the whole story.
Right.
It wasn't because some, highly paid corporate technology consultant came into his office with a slick slide deck. The catalyst was his own teenage kid.
Yes, and this detail is incredibly telling about how technology adoption actually works in the real world. Years before the IBM PC was like a standard household appliance, Anderson bought a very early personal computer for his son.
And the kid, being a curious kid, just immediately takes the entire thing apart.
Naturally.
Just to see how the logic boards connect, and then he puts it back together. But that tinkering evolved into real applied expertise. By the time this kid was just 15 years old, he was working part-time for his dad's company, literally building their first computer network.
A high school sophomore.
Yeah. A high school sophomore was selecting the hardware, running the cables through the ceiling, installing the software, and fundamentally modernizing the operations of a massive corporation.
Which, as a result, gave that company capabilities that their competitors simply could not match. I mean, they could respond to market changes faster. They could coordinate these complex sales strategies overnight.
Yeah.
The early adoption granted them a compounding edge. And Anderson's observation in our material is that we are watching the exact same pattern play out today with artificial intelligence. You have the initial skepticism, the dismissal of it as a fad, followed by an undeniable, frankly unfair competitive advantage for the early adopters.
Wait, I have to push back here for a second because I know exactly what you, the listener, might be thinking right now. The internet, fundamentally, was just a communication tool.
Yeah.
It connected human A to human B. It was basically a digital telephone. AI feels categorically different because it actually does the thinking. It performs cognitive tasks that previously required a human brain. That feels vastly more threatening to the average worker than just, swapping out a fax machine for an email client.
And that tension is exactly why this topic is so critical for us to explore. It forces us to really define what we mean when we say a machine thinks. Yes, artificial intelligence, specifically the branches we are discussing on this deep dive today, performs tasks that traditionally require human intelligence. It can solve problems, recognize complex patterns, generate original content.
Right.
But when you apply this to the reality of a small business owner, the paradigm shifts entirely. The question is not whether the AI can replace the plumber installing the sink. The technology cannot physically do that.
No, it doesn't have hands.
Exactly. The real question is whether the AI can replace the 4 hours of soul-crushing administrative work that prevents that plumber from going home to see their kids.
Oh, that is such a good way to put it. It is not about replacing the skilled laborer. It is about replacing the paperwork that the laborer absolutely despises.
Precisely.
And that brings us directly into the first major concept we need to explore from the source material. The reality of the small business trap, or what is described in the text as the hidden cost of friction. Because if you have never run a local business, it is very easy to romanticize it.
Oh, incredibly easy.
You walk down Main Street, you see the crisp awning, the clean windows, the glowing open sign, and you think, wow, what a tidy, straightforward operation.
The physical storefront presents this perfect illusion of simplicity. You see the transaction, right? A customer pays money, and a service or product is delivered. It looks incredibly linear.
But then you walk through the swinging door into the back office, or you look at the owner's kitchen table at 11 o'clock at night, and that illusion shatters completely. The operational reality of most local businesses is just pure chaos.
Absolute chaos.
They are drowning in a sea of disconnected sticky notes, unread emails, and half-filled spreadsheets.
And that happens because the local entrepreneur is burdened by the reality of corporate structure, but they don't have the resources of a corporation. A massive enterprise has the luxury of specialization.
Right, they have whole departments for things.
Exactly. They have a dedicated human resources department. They have a dedicated IT desk. They have an entire floor of people doing nothing but marketing, and another floor entirely dedicated to customer relationship management.
Meanwhile, the small business owner is all of those departments combined into one single, heavily caffeinated, deeply exhausted human being.
Yes. In many local firms, the owner spends a disproportionate amount of their waking hours working on the administration of the business rather than executing the actual service of the business. The research refers to this as the two jobs concept.
The two jobs concept makes so much sense when you break it down. Job number one happens during the daylight hours. That is the execution of the skilled labor.
The actual work.
Yeah, that is the baker baking the bread, the landscaper mowing the lawns, the contractor framing the house. That is the work that actually generates revenue and satisfies the customer.
But then the sun goes down. The employees go home, the customers go to sleep, and the business owner begins job number 2. They transition from the skilled technician into the administrative clerk.
Night shift.
The brutal night shift. And this is where businesses actually fail, not because the product is bad, but because the friction becomes too heavy to carry. The material explicitly catalogs these tasks because they are so universal across every industry.
Yeah, let's list some of them because everyone listening will recognize this pain.
Oh, totally. It is responding to customer inquiry emails. It is trying to figure out the scheduling puzzle for next week. It is generating estimates, formatting invoices, trying to write some compelling marketing posts for social media.
Updating the website, manually entering receipts into accounting software.
It literally never ends.
And the brutal irony here is that every single one of those tasks is 100% necessary for survival. You cannot run a business if you do not send invoices.
No, you won't get paid.
Right. You will not get new clients if you do not answer their emails. But almost none of those tasks directly generate revenue on their own. They are just the cost of doing business. They are massive opportunity costs. And the math in the research is staggering. If a small business owner could recover just 5 hours a week from this administrative friction, that equates to roughly 260 hours annually.
That is over 6 full work weeks reclaimed. Just think about that. 6 weeks of time that could be spent taking on more lucrative projects or, honestly, just as importantly, recovering from the burnout that plagues so many entrepreneurs.
So how does AI actually change this dynamic? I mean, practically speaking.
It acts as an equalizer. Historically, only a massive company could afford to spread the cost of administrative overhead across hundreds of employees. A 3-person plumbing crew simply cannot afford to hire a full-time scheduling coordinator, a full-time copywriter, and a full-time data analyst.
Right. The margins just aren't there.
Exactly. But today, a $50 a month AI subscription grants that 3-person team access to the exact same administrative processing power that used to require a floor full of salaried specialists. AI basically gives the microbusiness the administrative muscle of a mid-market corporation.
Let me try out an analogy here to really ground this for you listening. Imagine a world-class Michelin star chef. People travel from hundreds of miles away to eat their food. But because of how the restaurant is financially structured, that chef has to spend 80% of their shift washing the dishes, physically printing and folding the menus, and standing by the front door answering the reservation phone.
That sounds like a nightmare for a chef.
Right. They only get to cook 20% of the time. Well, AI is essentially a machine that washes the dishes, prints the menus, and answers the phone. The chef still has to cook the meal because that culinary expertise is the human element the customer is actually paying for. But the chef gets to stay at the stove.
The chef stays in their zone of genius. The AI handles the routine, the repetitive, and the structurally necessary but low-value tasks.
Okay, that makes perfect sense conceptually. We understand why the small business desperately needs this help. But now we really need to demystify the what and the how. What is the actual toolkit arriving to rescue them? Because when you say AI, a lot of people just, picture a glowing blue brain in a server rack somewhere, or they think of the Terminator.
Skynet, yeah.
We need to explain the mechanics of how these tools actually function without getting too deep into the weeds.
Right, and the material categorizes the relevant AI tools into 3 primary buckets. We can completely strip away the computer science jargon and define them entirely by their practical mechanisms. So the first category, which is currently driving the massive public conversation, is generative AI.
Generative AI.
Okay.
So this is the technology behind tools like ChatGPT or Claude. But how does it actually generate something new? Is it just like copy and pasting from a Google search?
Not at all, and that's a huge misconception. It is not a search engine. The mechanism behind generative AI, specifically large language models, is essentially highly advanced pattern recognition and probability. It has analyzed vast amounts of human text, learning the structural rules of language, context, and tone.
Okay, so it understands how we talk.
Exactly. So when you give it a prompt, it is mathematically predicting what the next most logical word should be over and over again to construct a completely original response. It takes the context you provide and generates text that fits that specific scenario perfectly.
So practically speaking, instead of a contractor sitting at their kitchen table at 9 p.m. staring at a blank Word document, trying to figure out how to phrase a complicated proposal for a commercial bathroom remodel, they use generative AI.
Yes.
They just give the tool the raw materials. They type in commercial bathroom, 400 square feet, porcelain tile, 3 toilets, estimate 40 hours labor. And the AI predicts the language needed to surround those facts, generating a polished, professional, grammatically perfect proposal in about 4 seconds.
It transforms hours of agonizing over formatting and phrasing into 3 minutes of light editing. And it's important to note, it does not replace the contractor's knowledge of what tile to use or how long it will take.
Right. The human is still the expert.
Exactly. It simply replaces the friction of authoring the document.
Got it. Okay, so the second bucket mentioned in the material is machine learning.
Yes, machine learning. This is fundamentally about extracting insights from historical data. Unlike traditional software, where a programmer writes explicit rules like, if X happens, then do Y, a machine learning algorithm is fed a massive data set and told to find the hidden correlations and trends on its own.
Okay, wait. How is that different from me just looking at a really well-organized Excel spreadsheet and noticing that, my sales go up in December?
Because a spreadsheet is static, And human analysis is severely limited by how many variables we can hold in our heads at once. A human might notice that sales spike in December, but a machine learning algorithm can analyze 50 different variables simultaneously.
Wow.
Yeah, it can look at years of your customer records, local weather patterns, traffic data, supply chain costs, and it dynamically adjusts its own internal weighting. It might find a correlation that a human would literally never spot.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so it might realize that every time the humidity drops below 30% for 4 consecutive days in a specific cluster of zip codes, your business gets a 40% spike and calls for a very specific type of repair. But it only happens from customers whose homes were built before 1990.
That is insanely specific.
Right. The algorithm learns this pattern and then actively forecasts it, prompting the business owner to pre-order supplies and adjust staffing before the phone even rings.
Wow. It turns hindsight into actual foresight. Which brings us to the third category in the toolkit, which feels a bit more frontier AI agents.
Yes, AI agents. This is the trajectory of where the technology is heading rapidly. A standard AI tool requires a human to prompt it for every single action. An AI agent, however, is given a goal and the ability to interact with other software systems to achieve that goal with minimal supervision. It acts as an autonomous digital worker.
Wait, how does software talk to other software without me actually clicking the buttons?
Through what are called APIs, or application programming interfaces. It is essentially a secure bridge that allows one program to hand data to another. An AI agent is programmed to understand how to use those bridges.
Okay, that makes sense.
So if the agent's goal is to schedule a meeting, it can read an incoming email, extract the proposed dates, cross-reference that with your digital calendar via an API, identify a conflict, draft an email suggesting alternative times, send that email, and when the client agrees, book the slot, and generate a Zoom link. It chains those multiple discrete steps together autonomously.
Hold on. If I'm the small business owner listening to this, the person running, a bakery or a local moving company, my immediate reaction is panic.
Because it sounds complicated.
Yeah. I'm thinking this sounds incredibly powerful, but do I need a computer science degree to make this work? Do I have to learn how to code API bridges and configure machine learning weights? Because if it takes me 6 months to learn the software, I am out. I just don't have the time.
The material addresses this exact anxiety, and the reality check here is profound. You do not need to be a programmer. You do not need to understand the mathematical loss functions of a neural network. You just need to know your own business.
It's like how I don't need to understand the complexities of internal combustion, thermodynamics, and transmission gear ratios just to drive my car to the grocery store.
Yeah.
I just need to know how to use the steering wheel and the pedals.
That is a perfect comparison. The most revolutionary aspect of this current wave of AI is the user interface. Historically, humans had to learn the language of computers to get them to do things. We had to learn DOS or Python or complex spreadsheet formulas. But generative AI has flipped that dynamic. The computer has finally learned the language of humans. The interface is entirely conversational. English, or whatever your native spoken language is the new programming language. If you can write a descriptive text message, you can command these tools.
Okay, let's take this out of the theoretical realm and put it directly into the dirt. It is very easy to conceptualize how a digital marketing agency or a graphic design firm uses AI. They live on computers anyway. But what about a business rooted entirely in physical, sweaty, tangible labor? Let's dive into the first major case study provided in the material. The landscaping company.
Landscaping is the ultimate stress test for this premise. I mean, AI cannot push a commercial lawnmower, it cannot physically plant a tree, and it cannot fix a broken sprinkler head. The core product is entirely analog, so how does a digital intelligence provide any value?
The research introduces a brilliant phrase here. The work around the work. The physical mowing of the grass is the core job. But there's an entire ecosystem of process that has to occur before the mower ever leaves the trailer and after it goes back to the garage.
Exactly. Let's map the chronological journey of a single customer to see where the friction lies and how the technology removes it. Step 1 is capture. Imagine a homeowner decides they are just tired of doing their own yard work. They sit down on a Tuesday afternoon and search for local landscapers. They are going to reach out to 3 or 4 different companies.
And the rule of local service business is simple. The first company to respond usually wins the contract.
But the owner of the landscaping company is currently sitting on a zero-turn mower. They are wearing heavy ear protection. Their phone is vibrating in their pocket, but they cannot stop the machine, take off their gloves, and have a 10-minute consultation.
No, they'd lose half the day if they did that.
Right. So they missed the call.
So the customer just moves down the Google search list to the next company. That is lost revenue caused entirely by friction.
And this is where the AI steps in. Instead of just hitting a generic voicemail, the landscaping company has integrated an AI-driven conversational agent on their website and text line. It answers the inquiry instantly, but it doesn't just offer a generic we will call you back message. It is programmed to actively capture and qualify the lead.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah. Through a natural text conversation, it asks the customer for their name, their address, and the specific services they are looking for. It asks for the approximate square footage of the lot, and it might even prompt the homeowner to snap a quick photo of their front and backyard and text it over.
So by the time the business owner finishes the current lawn, kills the engine on the mower, and pulls out their phone, they aren't looking at a missed call notification.
No.
They're looking at a fully qualified customer profile, complete with lot dimensions and photographic evidence, collected while they were physically working on another job. The AI secured the lead before the competitor even checked their voicemail.
Which seamlessly transitions into step 2, estimates. The owner has the lead, but now they have to price the job. Preparing custom estimates is traditionally a massive time sink.
Wait, I have to stop you because this is where the AI hallucination fear comes in. How does the AI know how much to charge? Won't it just, make up a number and accidentally quote the customer $5 for a $500 mulch installation?
That is such a valid concern, and it's a critical distinction to make. You aren't just letting a generic chatbot guess your pricing. The AI tool is grounded, meaning it is securely connected to the business's specific internal pricing database and historical invoices.
Okay, so it has boundaries.
Exactly. You feed the generative AI the parameters captured by the agent, say a 5,000 square foot lot requiring weekly mowing and edging. The AI references your standard rate per square foot, calculates the total, and then generates the formal proposal based on your actual data.
And it does all the tedious formatting too, right? It automatically pulls in the company logo, inserts the customized pricing, and, crucially, adds all the necessary legal boilerplate like the weather delay clauses, the payment terms, the liability waivers. The owner just reviews it, clicks approve, and it is emailed to the customer.
Yeah.
A process that used to take 45 minutes at a desk now takes 2 minutes from the cab of a truck.
It's incredible. So now the customer signs the estimate. Step 3 is scheduling and weather, which is arguably the most complex logistical nightmare for any outdoor service business. Yeah. You have multiple crews serving dozens of properties scattered across a wide geographic footprint.
And the weather is the ultimate wild card. I mean, rain delays everything. A drought means the grass doesn't grow and you have to pause mowing. A massive storm means you suddenly need all hands on deck for tree debris cleanup.
This is where machine learning truly proves its worth. The scheduling is no longer handled on a whiteboard with dry erase markers. The AI system ingests data from mapping software, real-time traffic updates, and hyper-local weather forecasts. It mathematically calculates the most efficient routing for each truck, factoring in the weight of the equipment and fuel consumption.
So it groups the jobs dynamically to ensure the trucks aren't zigzagging across town, wasting gas and time.
Exactly. And when the unpredictable happens, say a pop-up thunderstorm washes out the entire afternoon schedule, the owner doesn't have to scramble to call 20 different customers to apologize and reschedule.
That is the worst part of the job.
It is. But with this, the AI system instantly recalculates the route, shifts the affected jobs to the next optimal opening, and automatically sends personalized text messages to the customers explaining the weather delay and providing their new service window. It turns a reactive, chaotic emergency into a proactive, managed process.
That is so powerful. But let's talk about what happens after the grass is cut, because the material points out a massive blind spot for most local businesses. They completely ignore the gold mine of their existing customer base.
Because they just lack the bandwidth to analyze it. A landscaping company might visit the same property 30 times a year. They have incredible visibility into the changing needs of that property, but the owner doesn't have time to sit down and cross-reference 3 years of service histories to figure out who might need extra work.
Right. So enter the CRM, the Customer Relationship Management System, supercharged by AI. It analyzes the historical data. It notices, hey, we have been mowing the Smith family's lawn for 3 years, but they have never hired us for a spring cleanup, and their neighborhood generally spends highly on seasonal mulch.
And the AI proactively flags this for the owner. Or, even better, it drafts a customized email offering a 10% discount on mulch installation, specifically targeted to the Smith family, right at the beginning of spring when they are most likely to buy. It mines the existing database to generate new revenue with zero additional marketing spend.
Wow.
Furthermore, it tracks the operational data of the business itself. It monitors the engine hours on the commercial mowers and predicts exactly when a machine needs preventative maintenance, scheduling it during a slow week before the mower catastrophically fails in the middle of the busy season.
Here's what I find the most compelling about this entire landscaping breakdown. It is the human impact. If the AI is acting as the receptionist, the estimator, the logistics dispatcher, and the marketing director, well, what is the business owner actually doing? The research points out that they get to reclaim their life.
Yes, they reclaim their evenings and their weekends.
When the crew parks the trucks at 5 p.m., the day is actually over. The owner doesn't have to go home, eat dinner in a rush, and open a laptop to face 4 hours of administrative friction. Their quality of life improves dramatically.
It's life-changing.
And, ironically, the business becomes vastly more profitable because the AI is coldly analyzing the margins, pointing out which specific routes or services are actually losing money once fuel and travel time are factored in, which is something the owner never had the time to calculate manually.
The time saved is literally just as critical as the capital earned.
That makes sense for landscaping, where the work is generally scheduled, recurring, and somewhat predictable. But that is a very specific type of business. What happens when the business model is built entirely around unpredictable, high-stress emergencies? Let's look at the second deep dive case study from the material, the high-stakes HVAC company.
Yeah. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is an entirely different beast. It operates at this intersection of emergency medical triage, highly technical diagnostic repair, and massive capital equipment sales. The friction here isn't just annoying, it can be detrimental to a customer's safety.
The research paints a very vivid, very stressful picture. Imagine it is the middle of July. It is a humid, suffocating 100 degrees outside. Suddenly, a homeowner's central air conditioning unit violently clanks and just dies.
Oh, the worst feeling.
Panic immediately sets in. The house is heating up rapidly. That customer is not calmly waiting 24 hours for an email reply. They are going down the Google directory, calling every HVAC company in the county until a human being answers the phone.
Which means the speed of the intake process is the sole determining factor in capturing the revenue. But in this emergency scenario, the AI system isn't just collecting a name and address like it did for the landscaper. It is acting as an emergency triage operator.
The AI answers instantly, and it is programmed to ask a decision tree of critical questions. Is the system blowing warm air, or is it completely dead? Is the thermostat screen blank? Is there any burning smell? Is water actively leaking through the ceiling drywall?
And then it asks the most vital question of all. Are there vulnerable individuals in the home? Because an AC failure for a healthy 30-year-old is a frustrating inconvenience. But an AC failure in a house with a 90-year-old resident or a newborn baby in 100-degree heat rapidly becomes a life-threatening medical emergency.
Exactly. So the AI parses the severity of the situation. It acts like a 911 dispatcher. It instantly alerts the human dispatcher, flagging the urgent call in red, saying, this household has an elderly resident and requires immediate intervention. Meanwhile, it takes a call from someone who just wants to schedule a routine autumn furnace inspection and politely books them for 3 weeks out. It filters the noise so the humans can focus on the fire.
Which leads perfectly into smarter dispatch and tech prep. When the human dispatcher routes a technician to that emergency call, the AI prepares the technician before they even put the truck in drive. If this is a returning customer, the company might possess 15 years of handwritten service notes, invoices, and diagnostic history on that specific air conditioning unit.
But the technician driving the van cannot safely or realistically read through 50 pages of messy PDF files on a tablet while navigating traffic.
No, of course not. And they do not have to. The AI system instantly synthesizes those 15 years of documents into a concise, bulleted summary. It feeds the technician the exact make and model, the age of the equipment, the fact that the capacitor was replaced 4 years ago, and notes that a previous technician warned the homeowner about a failing compressor motor last summer.
So the technician walks up to the front door, shakes the homeowner's hand, and immediately says, hey, see, we warned you about that compressor motor last year. Let's go check that first. The technician lists like an absolute savant. The homeowner feels incredibly seen and valued. Trust is established in 10 seconds.
And that trust is essential when the diagnostic work actually begins. The material discusses on-the-job AI assistance, which is huge. An HVAC technician works on equipment manufactured by dozens of different companies across 30 years of changing model designs. No human can memorize every diagnostic error code for every unit ever built.
Historically, a tech would have to sit in the sweltering heat, scrolling through a 400-page digital manual on a tiny phone screen, trying to figure out what a blinking yellow light means.
Right. But now they simply query the AI assistant. They speak into their device. I am looking at a 2015 Carrier Infinity unit, model number X, and it is throwing error code 43. The AI, having ingested the entirety of the manufacturer's technical library, instantly replies with the exact cause of the error and the step-by-step testing procedure to verify the fault.
Again, we really have to clarify. The AI is not fixing the AC. The technician still has to physically test the voltage, remove the panel, and replace the wiring. The AI is simply removing the friction of finding the information. And when the physical repair is done, the technician faces the part of the job they universally despise the most: the documentation.
Oh, sitting in the cab of a hot truck, using one finger to slowly type out a detailed narrative of the repair for the company records and the customer invoice. It's miserable.
Which is why the voice-to-text AI integration is such a massive quality-of-life upgrade. The tech just turns on the AC in the truck, hits record, and speaks naturally. Like, found the dual-run capacitor was completely blown, tested the compressor windings, everything checked out fine, swapped the capacitor, verified a 20-degree temperature drop across the indoor coil. System is running normally.
And the AI uses natural language processing to strip out the ums and ahs, structures the thoughts chronologically, and perfectly formats it into a professional service record, automatically pushing it into the billing software.
That's amazing. But there is a specific use case mentioned in the research that I think is absolutely brilliant. They call it the translation game. HVAC, like any specialized trade, is completely saturated with highly technical jargon.
Oh, heavily.
The technician knows exactly what a superheat measurement or reversing valve is. But if they stand in the living room and say those words to a stressed-out homeowner, the homeowner's eyes just glaze over.
Because technical jargon creates a barrier of intimidation. When a customer doesn't understand what is broken, they become instantly suspicious of the price required to fix it.
Exactly. So the technician uses generative AI as a translator. They feed their technical diagnostic notes into the tool and ask it to explain the problem in plain, accessible English. The AI might generate an analogy explaining that the capacitor is like the starter motor in a car. It provides the massive jolt of energy needed to get the heavy machinery spinning.
That's a great analogy.
Right. The technician reads this, uses that analogy with the homeowner, and suddenly the customer perfectly understands what they're paying for. It builds immense goodwill.
And that goodwill transitions perfectly into predictive analytics and generating recurring revenue. Because the ultimate reality of HVAC is that equipment degrades and eventually dies. By analyzing the massive data set of all customer equipment, the age, the frequency of repairs, the rising cost of those repairs, the AI can accurately predict when a 15-year-old system has crossed the threshold where it is statistically cheaper to replace it than to keep repairing it.
It identifies the exact right moment to have the sales conversation. The research introduces a specific operational tool here: the HVAC Maintenance Agreement Revenue Planner.
Oh, this is a game changer.
Maintenance agreements are the holy grail for these businesses. Customers pay a recurring annual fee, and the company comes out twice a year to clean the coils and change the filters. It provides predictable cash flow during the slow seasons.
And the AI planner looks at the customer base, calculates the current conversion rates, and projects exactly how much the business could grow if they optimize these agreements. More importantly, it automates the execution. It tracks exactly when every customer is due for their spring inspection and automatically sends the scheduling link. The business never misses a revenue opportunity because someone forgot to manually check the calendar.
But let me act as a proxy for the skeptical listener right now.
Yeah.
If I am the homeowner in this scenario, if an AI chatbot triages my emergency, if an AI routes the truck, if an AI formats the invoice, and an AI writes the explanation of the repair, doesn't the customer experience become completely sterile?
I hear that a lot.
Doesn't it feel robotic, like I am just a data point being pushed through an algorithm?
That is the most common philosophical concern, but the reality on the ground shows the exact opposite effect. The AI handles the information and the logistics, which allows the human to focus entirely on the relationship. Think about the psychology of the technician in the pre-AI world. They arrive at the house stressed because they got lost. They are anxious because they know they have 3 more calls backed up. They are dreading the hour of paperwork waiting for them at the end of the day.
So they rush through the interaction.
Exactly. They are physically present, but mentally they're fighting friction.
Precisely. But when the AI removes all of that friction, the technician's mental bandwidth is completely freed up. They aren't stressed about the schedule because the AI optimized it. They aren't worried about the paperwork because the AI will draft it. Therefore, they actually have the time and the energy to look the customer in the eye, to listen patiently to their concerns, to pet their dog, and to explain the repair with genuine empathy.
Faster, algorithmically optimized service does not mean less personal service. It literally frees up the human to be more human.
Wow. It frees the human to be more human. That is a profound paradigm shift, and it leads us perfectly into the most surprising revelation in the material. Section 5 explores a massive, unintended societal and career shift resulting directly from this technology. Because if AI is empowering physical labor and eliminating the administrative burden, we are looking at the dawn of an unprecedented boom in the skilled trades and the creation of an entirely new industry alongside it.
We're witnessing the great paradox of artificial intelligence. For the last 40 years, the societal narrative has been entirely focused on pushing people toward knowledge-based, administrative, and professional desk careers. The culture heavily undervalued the people who built and maintained the physical world.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone was told, go to a four-year university, get a degree, and get a comfortable job sitting in an air-conditioned office typing on a keyboard.
But the paradox is that as artificial intelligence becomes exponentially better at automating cognitive and administrative tasks, analyzing spreadsheets, drafting legal summaries, writing code, organizing schedules, those comfortable desk jobs are the ones suddenly facing the most massive disruption and wage compression.
Meanwhile, the physical world remains entirely immune. A large language model cannot fix a shattered pipe under a kitchen sink. A generative AI cannot run new electrical Romex through a 100-year-old plaster wall. It cannot frame a roof. Physical, dexterous human expertise is suddenly becoming vastly more valuable because it is the one thing that cannot be downloaded or automated.
The skilled trades are entering a golden age. They sit in the perfect economic sweet spot. The core physical work they do is irreplaceable, but the administrative overhead that historically kept their businesses small and chaotic is being solved by cheap digital intelligence.
But this creates a new bottleneck, which the research points out is a massive economic opportunity. Because the master electrician, or the landscaping savant, or the veteran HVAC owner, they have zero desire to spend their weekends reading white papers on how to prompt an AI agent.
Definitely not.
They do not want to become software engineers.
They just want the pain of running their business to stop. They know the technology exists, but they do not know how to bridge the gap between their analog workflow and the digital tools.
They need someone to implement it for them. And this gives birth to an entirely new career path, the AI implementation consultant, or what some are calling the AI business architect.
This is a remarkable opportunity for anyone paying attention. You do not need to invent new AI software. You simply need to understand how to apply the existing tools to solve hyperlocal business problems.
Let's really dive into what this consultant actually does, because if you are listening to this, whether you are an ambitious 20-something looking for a startup idea or a retiree looking for a highly lucrative second act, this is the blueprint.
Yeah.
How does this AI consultant operate?
It starts with observation, not technology. The consultant does not walk into a local roofing company and try to sell them a massive, complicated $20,000 software overhaul that will just terrify the owner.
Right.
Instead, the consultant walks in, sits down with the owner and the office manager, and simply asks, where does it hurt? Where is the friction? What specific tasks keep you in this office past 6 p.m.? Where are you manually typing the same information from a piece of paper into a computer?
They map the workflow. They might discover that the roofing company spends 15 hours a week just taking handwritten measurements from the field guys and manually formatting them into formal estimate PDFs. That is a massive bottleneck.
The consultant identifies that single bottleneck. They then go back to their office, select a standard off-the-shelf AI tool, maybe a generative AI workflow combined with a basic automation software like Zapier, and they build a custom bridge.
Ah, I see.
They set it up so that when the field guy texts a picture of the measurements, the AI automatically reads the handwriting, formats the data, and generates the PDF estimate, dropping it directly into the owner's inbox for a review.
The consultant charges a consulting fee or a monthly retainer to maintain that automation. And the roofing company happily pays it because that automation just saved them 15 hours of labor a week and increased their turnaround time, helping them close more deals. The consultant is providing a tangible service that directly impacts the bottom line of a local business.
And this highlights a fundamental truth about technology adoption that is easily forgotten. The AI itself is just a hammer. A hammer has no intrinsic value. The real value is held by the person who understands the architecture of the house, who knows exactly which nail to hit and how hard to hit it. The AI architect provides that vision.
Okay, so if you are listening and the light bulb has gone off, if you see the vast potential here, either to streamline your own small business or to start consulting for others, how do you actually begin? Because the hype cycle is deafening. You open Twitter or LinkedIn, and it feels like a revolutionary new AI tool is announced every 12 minutes. It induces total decision paralysis. We need to focus on action over anxiety.
The guidance provided in the research is incredibly grounded and pragmatic. Bill Anderson's philosophy is the anchor here. Never buy AI software just to have it. Do not adopt technology looking for a problem to solve. That only creates new, more expensive problems.
The research suggests a very specific starting point. The hate-to-do strategy. I love the simplicity of this. You do not start by researching AI capabilities. You start by looking at your own calendar. You look at your daily workflow and you identify the one repetitive, low-value administrative task that you actively loathe. The task you constantly procrastinate on. The thing that drains your energy and keeps you away from your family.
That is your entry point. If your hate-to-do task is answering the exact same 5 questions about parking and hours of operation from 20 different customers a day, your first project is setting up an AI customer support agent. If your most hated task is writing blog posts for SEO marketing, you start experimenting with generative AI as a writing assistant.
You solve one single bottleneck. You prove the value to yourself in a low-stakes environment. You learn the rhythm of how the tool works, and only then do you expand to the next problem.
Exactly. Incremental adoption is the key to sustainable transformation.
Let's rapidly run through the big frequently asked questions section from the material because we really need to address the lingering anxieties people still have. Number 1, will implementing AI actually make my business more money?
Yes, but not automatically. It makes you more money by radically increasing your capacity. By reducing the administrative friction, you can process more clients, execute more jobs, and serve more customers without having to hire additional administrative staff. It lowers your overhead and widens your profit margins.
Okay, number 2, which specific types of businesses stand to benefit the most? Is it just tech startups and digital marketing firms?
Absolutely not. The greatest proportional gains will be seen in hyperlocal service businesses that drown in logistics and document management, property managers, vacation rental hosts, real estate agents, accountants, plumbers, electricians. If your business requires coordinating the schedules of multiple human beings or manually processing lots of paperwork, you have the most friction to eliminate.
Number 3, and this is the existential one. Is artificial intelligence eventually going to replace the small business owner entirely?
Emphatically no. AI is a tool. It is an assistant. It is incredibly capable of analyzing data, drafting documents, and executing defined workflows. But it is not a leader. It possesses no judgment. It has no ethics, no overarching strategic vision, and zero ability to build genuine human relationships. The owner remains the architect. The AI is merely the bulldozer.
And finally, number 4. Is right now actually a good time to start learning this? Or should I wait 2 years until the technology settles down and becomes foolproof?
Now is the imperative time. Yes, the technology is evolving at breakneck speed, and the tools you use today will look different in a year. But practical, highly effective tools exist right now. The businesses that begin experimenting today are building a foundational fluency. By the time the hesitant competitors finally decide to adopt the technology, the early adopters will be so far ahead in efficiency that they will be impossible to catch.
Let's bring all of this together. We have covered an immense amount of territory on this deep dive. We started by pulling back the curtain on the messy, chaotic reality of the local business back office. We diagnosed the hidden cost of friction that forces entrepreneurs to work that exhausting night shift.
We examine the mechanics of the toolkit, how generative AI, machine learning, and AI agents are arriving to shoulder that administrative burden.
We took it into the dirt with the landscaper, watching the technology capture leads instantly and dynamically schedule around thunderstorms. We put it in the pressure cooker of an HVAC emergency during a heat wave, seeing how it arms a technician with 15 years of data and translates intimidating jargon into plain English.
We uncovered the macroeconomic shift that is making physical blue-collar expertise more culturally and financially valuable than ever, while simultaneously spawning the entirely new career path of the AI implementation consultant.
And it all leads back to the core philosophy embedded in our research material today. First education, then action. We have spent this entire hour breaking down the concepts, mapping the mechanisms, and explaining the why and the how. But gathering knowledge is only the first step. Education without application is just entertainment.
The knowledge only gains value when it hits the friction of reality. You have to identify your hate-to-do task this week, and you have to attempt to solve it.
Which brings us back to that storefront image we started with. The crisp awning, the glowing open sign on Main Street. Because of AI, the chaotic back office can finally become just as clean, efficient, and streamlined as the front window. But I want to leave you with one final, lingering thought to mull over on your own. A thought that extends beyond the research we've discussed today.
I think we were all ready for it.
Fast forward a few years. If artificial intelligence eventually perfects all the scheduling algorithms, if it perfects every marketing email, if it completely eliminates all the administrative friction for every single small business in your town, then every business becomes perfectly efficient. And if every business is perfectly efficient, you can no longer compete on operational speed. The playing field is entirely level, which means the only thing left to differentiate you from your competitor is the depth of your human empathy. It is the patience you show, the trust you build, and the community you foster. In a world completely optimized by machines, is your raw humanity about to become your single most profitable asset?
Well, I'm back, and I'm just going to make a few comments here. I believe that many of you that have small businesses that were listening to this might have said, wow, that seems like my business. I happen to know that because I have worked with many people starting small businesses, and these are the problems, the rubs, basically, that they have. And I hope that you have learned that there is something you can do about it. Now, what's missing from this is very specific steps to take to be able to implement what was discussed here. And unfortunately, we just can't keep going for hours and talking about this here. But I am in the process of writing another article that will be published on RetireCoast that will talk very specifically about how to get started, how to find somebody that can help you build what you need to be able to get rid of all the stress and all the headache. And we'll do a podcast about it too, but I think the article will be much more effective because we're going to show you things in the article along with some tools that are very important to use. So please come back to RetireCoast.com and sign up with us. Just put your email in there anywhere on any article at the very top right-hand side. We're not going to, beat you over the head with all kinds of emails and things. We don't even know who you are. We just have your email address, and we're not going to sell it to anybody. But you will be notified when we write new articles at RetireCoast.com. And then, of course, hit the show notes here. Find out how to get back into those articles. And please come back and listen to our next podcast. And again, check RetireCoast.com. Thank you very much for spending time with me.